Welcome to this episode of the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. I'm Jessica Lorimer, sales coach and leadership expert, and I am really excited to dig down into today's episode. Well, hello there, poddies. It is the 9th of December. Like, how is this even happening? I have just got back from the most amazing trip in Norway. Norway is somewhere that I've wanted to go for years and years and years because I just think it looks beautiful. I will have just gotten back from a relatively impromptu trip, so it's all quite exciting for me, and I'll have been doing husky sledding, I'll have been chasing the northern lights on a luxury catamaran, I'll have been, looking at reindeer and whales and all of that good stuff. I don't actually fly back until Monday evening, so as you are listening to this, I will be freezing in Norway, hopefully with hot chocolate and all of the good Christmas vibes. I'm very, very much looking forward to it. It will also be the first holiday that I've taken this year, which I'm quite excited about. I'm going with a really cool travel company. If they're good, you know that I will recommend them and probably record an episode about them. And it's the first time in a while that I've taken a trip all by myself, like a big girl. So I'm very, very excited about this. Not thinking that Max is going to be massively impressed when I do get back and sees that I've been touching other dogs. That sounds not how I wanted it to, but I don't think he'll be massively happy about that. I'll have to remember to bring him lots of presents and good things. So if anyone has any good Norway recommendations for my final day here, then shoot them over in an Instagram message or something. I don't actually know how much Wi-Fi I'm going to have. This tour company has told me that I'm not going to have Wi-Fi, but I'm going to be back in the land of the hotel on Monday afternoon. I've actually got a really cool call with my brand new C-suiters, which is all very exciting. If you haven't heard about the C-suite yet, don't worry, it's coming. We're actually going to attach the sales page to the show notes today. You can have a look. You can check out what the crazy C-suite thing is. But today it's an interesting one. It's actually come about because at the beginning of this year, almost the beginning of this year in February, I started coaching with Ali Brown. And it's been a really interesting experience. One of the most interesting bits was when Ali said to me, well, what do you want for your business this year? And I was kind of like, I don't really know. And this is a common problem I find when your business becomes more successful. You're kind of like, well, I just want it to keep doing what it's doing. I want it to make money. I want people to get good results. I want us to, work with more people. I want to become better known. And that was my thing for going to Ali. And the way that I phrased it was, I'm really tired of being the best kept secret. And that was something I talked about in the podcast Christmas 2018. And, it was one of the reasons that I'd kind of said, I'm coming away from the whole Facebook thing. I'm just, I'm tired of fighting for attention in the newsfeed. I want to be not the best kept secret, but I want to be a resource that people know about and that people actively aspire to kind of work with. And so I said this to Ali, feeling a little bit British about the whole thing, feeling a little bit uncomfortable, because actually it's one of those things for me that I had always thought about. I want my business to ultimately, be more successful, but not necessarily the how of that was going to happen. And so we talked about, what I liked and what I didn't like in the market, what was going on. And one of the things that she said to me was, your problem is that you're not currently a category of one. Your skills are, but ultimately your marketing is not. And I was like, what does that even mean? And a few years ago, I'd obviously read Becoming a Category 1 by Joe Calloway. If you haven't read it, it's really good. Go and grab it on Amazon. I will probably be rereading it on the plane home as I'm trying to avoid turbulence and not cry. I still really hate planes. But I was reading Becoming a Category 1 by Joe Calloway a few years ago when I actually before I started up my business. I read this, I think, almost at the end of my career in the city. And it was a really interesting book. Okay, so what Joe talks about is the fact that there are certain companies that are more successful than others. And the reason that they are more successful than others is because they ultimately become a category one in their market. As one of my clients, Jen Hall, would say, they become the market leader. And Joe wrote this book, and it's full of amazing real case studies. I think they've just published a new edition, actually. And it was really, really new to me, this idea that actually companies who are more successful don't just have traits like they make more money, or they are better at branding, but that actually they were categories of one in the market because they did one of the following. They were either innovative thinkers, their product was innovative, their systems were innovative, and generally they were disruptive in the market in some way, whether that was through their products, their systems, or their marketing. And that was really interesting to me. And I kind of, as Ali was saying it, I was like, oh yeah, I see where this is going. And she'd said, your skills are category of one. In other words, what I can teach, the results I deliver are very unique. The methods I use are very unique, but my marketing isn't. And that stung a little bit, right? It's always interesting when you're being coached. Sometimes people will ask, what did you get from the investments? And whenever anyone asks about coaching with Ali, I'm like, it's the golden nuggets. It's not necessarily the kind of things that I needed at the beginning, which was, spoon feed me how to do things, how to make a lead magnet, how to use Canva. But it was the golden nuggets. And it was a throwaway comment from her. And I was like, oh, that A, stings a bit, and B, is completely right. And that's the power of a good coach, is that they will give you those gold nuggets and they will, let you go and cogitate on them. So that's where I was in February. I was thinking, okay, I need to become this category of one. And I've heard a lot of you talking about it recently. How do I become a leader in the market? And that's the problem, isn't it, really? We talk about how do we become a leader. I've talked about that for years. How do I become a leader? And really, in deciding that I didn't want to be the best kept secret anymore, I had to ask myself the question, how do I become the leader? And that was actually a much more scary prospect for a few reasons. One was that, becoming the leader would look like a lot of self-promotion. And that wasn't something that I was necessarily used to doing. I wasn't necessarily used to shouting about how great I was or how awesome my clients were and how the results that they were getting were completely different to anywhere else I was seeing in the market. So that was the first thing that I had to reconcile myself with. The second thing was this idea of tall poppy syndrome. When you stand out and you do something differently, other people don't necessarily like that. And this year I was like, oh, whilst I'm not the first person to be bothered necessarily by trolls. In fact, I find them relatively entertaining. And if you haven't listened to the episode on how to deal with trolls yet, take a little listen after this one. But I was concerned that if I did something different in the market, I would either get a really horrific response, and actually it's something that Ali and I talked a lot about because we both believed it would happen, or that people just wouldn't get it. They wouldn't understand the innovation and the direction I was trying to take them in, and that ultimately would cause major problems for my business. So you see, becoming a category one is not necessarily all that fun on the surface. When it actually happens, great, but when you're trying to make it happen, less so. So I had to think about those things, and I had to think about whether, becoming a brand and becoming a business that was innovative, that was disruptive, that was interesting, that, continued to get people the best results they could, outweighed the fact that people were going to give me a lot of stick for this, that it was quite likely as it took off, I was going to get a lot of copycats and people going, I can do that too. And that is the voice that I imagine them saying in. That's definitely how I'm rolling with this. But I had to weigh it up. What were the pros and cons? And eventually I decided that I did really want to be this category of one. And it was a really hard decision. You know, and I know that you're probably listening to that thinking, well, how exactly is that a difficult decision, Jess? You get to be a market leader, you get to make more money. Like, yeah, it's actually hard. Putting yourself on a pedestal is tough. And if you are European, I think we struggle a little bit more with self-promotion. I think it's not necessarily it doesn't happen as frequently as perhaps in the US. And so actually we tend to be a little bit more humble about sharing our achievements. And that was something that it was a struggle for me this year. And bear in mind, I've been in business 6 years. I've been a salesperson for 14 years. Promotion is not something I thought I would ever struggle with. Doing something new, doing something innovative and disruptive, and putting myself out there to potentially get a lot of stick to screw over my own business, look, it's not easy. It's never going to be easy. But it was, in my mind, it was worth it to become a category of one, to stop being the best kept secret, to do something that was genuinely different for the market, something that I believed was massively, massively necessary. And that had the potential to take off really quickly. And it did. And we'll talk about that later. I'm going to kind of case study my own business for you so that you can see what it's all like. So there were certain steps that I took to make this happen, because annoyingly, you can't just decide to be a category one and then it just happens. Much like anything else, I guess, in business, it's one of those things. It's quite frustrating. You kind of get yourself together and you're like, right, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to be a category one. And then you spend like 6 or 7 months being like, why is this not working yet? And people think that, you know, patience is not a virtue that is needed in business. It really, really is. So I started this by creating my BFD list. And for those of you who don't know what a BFD list, it stands for Big Fucking Deal List. I should have pre-warned about explicit content, shouldn't I? Damn it. But there you go. I've said damn it now too. Like, I'm on a roll today. So I created my BFD list, and your BFD list is basically where you look back and you look at all of your key achievements over the years and what has led you to this current point. Now, this is something we used to do in corporate a lot. It's something that Ali was like, you need to go and do this. And so I did. I sat down and I really made an effort to look at this BFD list. And again, this is a really awkward thing for me to do, because obviously being a Brit, it's one of those things that we don't do all that often. So I got my BFD list and I wrote it down in a Google Doc. I will share some of these things with you. I think it's quite valid. So here are the things or some of the things that made me feel like a really big fucking deal. So I was the youngest ever manager for a company worldwide when I was 18. I, at 18 years old, took responsibility for underperforming stores with that company. My notable achievements were that I was consistently a top salesperson of the region. I took a store from being on shutdown to being a top performing store in the region within 6 months. And I sold the highest amount of engagement rings in the year of 2009. So yeah, check that out. Ever need someone to propose to you? I can sell them an engagement ring, even now. I went on to work in corporate sales. I became the top performing new salesperson at that company within my first 8 months. I was a top 20 salesperson at that company worldwide when they were operating in over 35 countries for 3 consecutive years. I signed multi-million-dollar sales agreements, developing completely new business with over 5 companies. I was actually their first female in a UK division, and one of their first female managers in one of their UK divisions as well, which was quite cool. I was somebody who was the quickest person to be promoted at a company that I worked for, paid more than the average starting salary on joining, and I negotiated that for myself. So there we go. Gender pay gap in 2011, I think this was. I was there. I was like, no, pay me more. And then I set up my business. And I doubled my revenue in years 1, 2, and 3. I spoke at some of the biggest conferences in 2017, 18 and 19. My business has a 98% completion rate for courses. We actually have a 92% success rate in cash creation of participants who actually generate their ROI in the first 6 weeks of the course starting. Amazon #1 bestseller. And I actually beat Gary Vee for like a whole hour when his new book came out. Crush it. You can actually see the screenshot. My book is like above him on the charts. And I'm like, there's little old me and then Gary Vee right next to me. My podcast has been #1 in the UK chart. I won a We Are the City Most Inspirational Woman Award. And they featured my book as a must read last year. I've been featured on a whole bunch of different TV channels, and I've been featured on private roundtables discussing big issues, not just sales related, but things like the gender pay gap, gender parity within organizations, and how we can improve business development worldwide. And I have consistently, over the course of my business, been one of the most successful business owners at getting my clients really, really good results. I've had clients go from nothing to 35k months. I've helped clients specifically this year go from 40k months to 120k months with one VIP day. And my clients, if they do the work, they get the results. So I was looking at this list, and that's a segment of my list that I think is interesting. There are also other things on there, like that time that I was head girl when I was like 16 at school, and I was like, I'm so cool because I'm head girl. Oh, the things that 16-year-olds think. But anyway, I created this list and I looked at my key achievements over the years, and a lot of my key achievements have come from the successes that I've had helping people navigate the corporate business development space. In the last 14 years of working in sales, have trained literally thousands and thousands and thousands of people how to generate B2B sales. And I did it within companies that I worked for because I was training sales teams. I did it externally as a contractor and consultant. I still do that now. I have taught people who run their own businesses how to go and sell to corporates. And there's this kind of thing that just kept coming up. I know this space really well, but I'm not publicly doing anything with it. And I was doing things behind the scenes. For years, I've been teaching people one-to-one, like how to navigate the B2B space. I've been adding corporate revenue streams to multiple businesses over the last 5 or 6 years. But this was the first year that I'd really looked back at it and gone, yeah, that's where I want to be. And there were multiple reasons. One, I really believed that in this economical climate, everybody needs to add a corporate revenue stream. If you're not, you are missing out. And, you're going to really struggle next year. I don't care what anyone tells you. The other thing was that my clients who were actually selling B2B, they were getting results so much quicker and actually in easier ways than clients who were selling B2C, business to consumer. They weren't having to go on Facebook and do like a zillion posts every day. They weren't having to, figure out social media or show up on live streams every day or do any of that for low ticket sales. I put out my own independent research. I was shocked by the sheer amount of people whose businesses will not ever make more than £100,000 total, not a year, total. And for me, it came down to the fact that it was because these people, they didn't have a corporate revenue stream. And it's a real, real big problem. So that's where I decided. I was like, right, okay, I think that's going to be my category of 1. That's really hard. Okay, I'm gonna throw it out there. I don't normally give myself a little pity party, but let's go there for a second. I've got a really successful business, and I've done a lot over the years. I've sold a lot of products, a lot of services. It's doing well. It's ticking along. Everything's tickety-boo. Why burn that down? Why adjust any of that? And it comes back to that earlier piece that we were talking about. I wanted to be a category of 1. I was so tired of selling everything that people wanted and needed. And yet people were still just sat back like, oh, well, maybe I'll do it later. Maybe I'll, maybe I'll buy that course later on. We used to get it with cash creation a lot. People would sit there and they'd watch like 3 or 4 rounds go by and everyone get really good results. And they'd be like, but I just don't know that I need to focus on sales. And I'm like, okay, fine. And I kept thinking to myself, it's because I'm not category of one. It's because I'm not the best known person for one thing. And it's true. I had to own that. And this is a year where at the beginning of the year, I sat down with a lot of my clients and I said, if you want to have a better year in business, you need to specialize. Stop being a generalist. Stop doing too many things. And guess what? All my clients who specialized, well, they're doing really well. They're owning their spaces. You know, one of my amazing clients, Helen Packham, she has absolutely owned the speaking space this year. She's phenomenal. And she has been so successful. She's had to burn some things down, including her free Facebook group, but she has been selling out her speaker intensives like hotcakes, right? She's been absolutely instrumental in helping people create their first talks and go out there into the market and pitch for their first TEDx talk. It's incredible, all because she specialized. Yeah. One of my other clients, Gemma Stowe, you guys might have heard of. She's got the No More Hiding movement. She specializes in working with introverts to show up, to be visible. She's nailing it in that space, because there are so many female leaders who are introverted, who are having to do things in an extroverted way because they're told that's how you have to do it. And she's helping them harnessing those natural talents and do it their way, and it works. Gets them better results, right? Julie Dennis, who I talk about all the time, she specializes in menopause, helping companies set good menopause policies, helping companies make menopause mainstream in their workspace, helping companies communicate with people going through the menopause and making sure that they're fully supported at work. They all specialize. They all get better results for their clients. They all get better results for themselves. And people come to me, and I really hate this. So if you've ever sent me this email, you will have definitely got a short shrift response. But people say, well, it's okay for that person to specialize because the market really needs what they have. No, that's not how being a category of one works. Being a category of one, because you are innovative, because you are disrupting the market, because you are specializing, it means you create awareness. You create awareness, you create a need. People think we must have this because this is disruptive, this is different, this is something we're not hearing about. And what that actually means is that you end up creating major change. People use it about Julie's example a lot. They're like, oh, well, menopause now, it's like the hot button topic. It wasn't in 2018. January 2018, nobody talked about the menopause. Nobody wanted to say the word vagina. Even I do not like saying the word vagina. Wow, this episode really has gone explicit, hasn't it? But it's true. Nobody wanted to say it. Who wants to talk about those? It's like Alien versus Predator, you know? She built awareness. She talked to companies. She told them about the problems that they would experience if they did not deal with this issue. And sure enough, this year, she was asked to chair and facilitate a panel at the House of Lords talking about this issue. But without people like Julie, without Julie herself, this wouldn't have happened. Category of one. It's not to say that there aren't other people out there who are selling menopause training. It's not to say that they're not good at it. But she is somebody who has raised major awareness within corporate organizations and who's pushed that forward. Being category one, it's not enough to be disruptive. So, you know, this is the other thing, or the step 2 that I looked at. The achievements of my clients, right? I sat down and I looked at, okay, let's look at every single person who's worked with me over the last year. By the way, that's a lot of people. So just throwing it out there, this process did not take me 10 minutes because it's quite lengthy. I have spent since February doing this, and then I'm only just telling you about it because I can't talk to you about a process that I haven't been through yet when I haven't seen what it looks like on the other side. But I sat there and I looked at every client I'd worked with and where they'd had like the best results. And by far, you know, although everybody had made money with my courses, although everybody had had great experiences, the ones who were working with big brands, the ones who were selling to corporations, the ones who were selling to organizations, the ones who were doing clear business development, they were the ones who were doing better quicker. The ones who were selling B2C, it was much harder for them. It was much harder for them because the online space is so saturated now that it's very difficult to be disruptive. It's not enough anymore to just swear. It's not. It's not enough to be a rebel or to say fuck or, you know, any of that. It's just not enough. And because people are relying on that, they're not developing this category of oneness. They're not specializing. They're not innovating. It's not happening. You know, it doesn't mean to say that it can't. Like, it really doesn't. I've got phenomenal clients who absolutely are moving forward in that B2C space. Lisa Johnson has been a client of mine this year, and she's had 4 multi 6-figure launches back to back. She did a VIP day with me in January, and she's been working with me one-to-one. She's one of the very few people that I've worked with one-to-one this year. And she really is category of one online because she has disrupted and innovated an industry. She's become known for her down-to-earth feel and, you know, the way that the specific methodology that she uses to teach passive income, because it works, right? So that was the second thing. I looked at the achievements of my clients who were absolutely acing it, who'd done it quicker, and they were selling to corporates. Even the ones that had been initially selling B2C, who were then turning around, looking at the people who were actually selling to corporate. Half of my masterminders are now like, we want to sell to corporates, Jess. And it's been amazing. And they have put their minds to it. And we've had people get their first client within 3 weeks. You know, it's been absolutely incredible. And so I looked at that and I said, yeah, okay, this still feels good to me. I like this. I like this idea of selling to corporations, business development, going back to real quality people selling real quality services in a flexible way that works for them. Because the big misconception is that you sell to a corporate, oh my God, you're gonna have to go in, you're gonna have to wear a suit, you're gonna have to be there every 5 minutes. You know, all these people who've now come out of the woodwork, this is a side note by the way, but I'm going with it. All these people who are now coming out of the woodwork and they're like, yeah, I can teach how to sell to corporates too. And they're like, you have to go in and you have to be on call to the CEO and you have to take all their emails and you have to be at their beck and call. No, you don't. That's not a thing at all. And if anyone is saying that, run. They clearly have no idea how to negotiate. Okay, I'm just gonna throw that out there. But so we looked at the achievements of the clients, and I was happy, felt good about selling to corporates. And then I assessed the market. Right. This is a key part of becoming a category of one. Who else is out there? Who's doing it really well? Who's not? I could only find one person who was doing something remotely similar to me and was doing it well. They were also about 20,000 miles away from me. And so I felt confident that actually I could do this in the UK market, specifically for the UK, European markets, and do really, really well and really, really enjoy it. And that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted to do. So I assessed the market and I looked and I couldn't see anybody. Right? We're talking March this year. By this time, I'm assessing the market and I can't see anybody. And I put out a little post on Facebook and I was like, I'm going to start teaching people publicly how to sell to corporates. And it was so interesting because there were people on that post who commented, this is so needed. And then about probably 2 months ago, they're out there and they're like, I'm going to teach you how to sell to corporates now. So this is the other thing about becoming category of one. You get copycats a lot quicker. That's fine. Do not worry about it. Being category of one means that you do it first and you roll with that forward momentum. Also means you probably have the initial struggles that they won't experience in the beginning. You kind of pave the way. Everyone wants to work with the OG. Okay, that was very, very gangster, wasn't it? Here's the other thing, is that nobody is ever going to sell something that is completely new anymore. It's just not possible. So when we're talking about being category one, it doesn't mean you have to sell something that nobody else has ever sold before or ever done before. It means you have to disrupt or innovate in that space. Now, when I started doing this in March, like I said, I couldn't find anybody who was doing this, not for the online space or online entrepreneurs and selling into corporates. I could find plenty of really good B2B companies who are working with big companies to help their sales teams sell to business, but I couldn't find anybody who was teaching solopreneurs, consultants, coaches, that kind of thing, how to sell into corporate companies. And then suddenly, because I'd done this market assessment, couldn't find anybody, I started making some waves about it. I was talking about it. I was having meetings about it. I was teaching people and they were talking about it. My clients were getting results and they were talking about it. And suddenly, after assessing the market and there being not very many, let's not say zero, because I can't possibly say that there was nobody ever, all these little people came out of the woodwork. And they were like, I'm over here and I'm selling to corporates too, and I'm teaching that. And you could be really disheartened. And I actually had this conversation with Ali because I was like, is there something wrong with me because I'm not disheartened by this? Like, I speak to a lot of people, a lot of friends, a lot of colleagues, a lot of clients, a lot of people in my audience. And generally what happens when somebody copies them is that they're like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. And you know, rightly so, hacked off that they've done all of this beginning work, and then this little person waltzes in and they're like, I'm just going to hang off your coattails. I saw it as a good thing. I was like, okay, I'm a little bit hacked off that people are literally just jumping on my stuff here and being like, I do that too, come buy from me, and it's like 5% cheaper. But actually I thought it was a great thing, because it meant that I'd done something different. I disrupted enough that these people who had previously been saying, but I specialize in, you know, living the laptop lifestyle or building sales funnels or doing all these things that were primarily online businesses, had now gone, oh, no, now you need to sell to corporates. And I did that 10 years ago, so I can teach you. That's my only moment of bitter, FYI. I'm like, if you can actually do it and you've proven that you can help clients do it, I've got no problem. But if you're the sort of person who's like, I did this myself like 30 years ago, yeah, not going to fly. All right. Things have changed, people. Things have changed. Fax machines are not even in existence anymore. So people started to copy. People started to jump on this bandwagon because rightly they thought it's going to make them money. Only it didn't. Some of them actually ended up buying from me. People who are teaching other people allegedly to sell to corporates ended up buying from me on how to sell to corporates. And that was really interesting. You know, I was saying to Ali, I'm not angry about this, but it's interesting. Like, what have I done? And she was like, this is how you know you're disrupting. So when you assess your market, there might not be anybody initially, or there might be very few people initially, but once you start disrupting and innovating, suddenly lots of other people want a slice of the pie because they can see that it's going to be amazing. You know, and I have clients who are doing these amazing innovative things and people are always copying them, and it really rightly hacks them off. But I always tell them, well, you're doing the right things because you're disrupting. They think they can jump on it later and get the same results, and they can't. They absolutely cannot. You couldn't bring out another MacBook now, right? You couldn't bring out another Netflix now and expect it to be as successful. They're just not, right? So after we've assessed the market, the next stage for me was adapt. Right. There were no people. Now there are some people. Now there are copycats. How do I adapt to this? How do I adapt to this change? And for me, it was about being really honest about the results that I'd gotten people, why I was different through the results that I already had. A lot of the people who were coming into the market, they'd never taught anybody else how to do this, right? They had, you know, maybe worked themselves in a corporate space, but not necessarily in sales, not necessarily teaching people who'd never sold before how to sell to corporates, and certainly not with the same results. So I started talking about that. I was really, for the first time in my business ever, I really went in on self-promotion. And as my masterminds will tell you, I kind of shared the behind the scenes of when we were selling the Converting Corporates event with them, and exactly what I did for promotion. And it was a lot. It was the most promotion ever that I've ever done for anything. And unsurprisingly, that event sold incredibly well. There were people out there, they were selling, you know, after I'd announced that I was going to do this event, after I'd announced I was going to be teaching selling to corporates, there were people out there, they were copying me left, right and center, and they were doing it a hell of a lot cheaper. But people were buying tickets for the event. We finished pricing at £625 a ticket. That's a lot. That's a high price. I'd never held an event before. I'd done my book launch at the Ritz a couple of years earlier, but that was it. And this was completely different. This was a 2-day, completely innovative, interactive workshop to teach people how to sell to corporates. It was a complete new thing to the market, to these people. And we had a full room. And the people who participated said, oh my God, the caliber of people in that room was phenomenal. There's the thing, other people might be doing it cheaper. They were not getting 70 attendees, right? They weren't making the same money. Is it all about the money? No. But it just goes to show, if you are category 1, if you are innovative, if you are disruptive, even if people start to copy you, people still want to buy from the original source. Incidentally, great shower gel. Just gonna throw it out there. So I adapted and I sold the event. And like I said, I did a lot of promotion for the event. In fact, one of my lovely clients came to me and said, I didn't realize that you could sell every day on LinkedIn until you started doing it. And I was like, yep. And that's what I did. I didn't even sell it on Facebook. In fact, I think I did in the end 3 posts on Facebook. You can go and check out my personal profile. They'll all be public. I think I did 3 posts in the end on Facebook about the event. One of them was just saying, I'm going to do this because I'm really excited about it, and didn't even have a ticket page. And the others were, I'm doing this and we've got some spots left. You should go do it. We mainly use LinkedIn. I set up a brand new podcast, Selling to Corporate. It's on iTunes. If you haven't listened and you're interested in selling to companies, go and listen. It's great. And it just snowballed. Like, it just took off. The podcast is getting steady listens. It's much smaller in terms of downloads, by the way, than this podcast. Of course it is. We haven't promoted it though. We've only been promoting tickets for the event for the last 5-6 months. And yet the podcast has been growing this steady following, just behind the scenes. I actually, in fact, weirdly got an email today from somebody who was like, I'm reaching out because I listened to this podcast and I've got a question about episode 2. It's only got 1 episode a month and it sold over £23,000 worth of tickets, which is pretty amazing. So between LinkedIn and the podcast and some amazing people who recommended that other people buy tickets, that was it. I promoted it every day for 6 months in some way, shape or form. Can you say that you've done that with your products and services this year, or have you had to jump from thing to thing to thing? Because that's what I did all of last year. I was like, oh my God, I have to promote this now, and I have to promote that now, and I've got to make time for this, and you know, I'm participating in a summit or whatever, and I've got to promote that, and I'm speaking at an event, and I've got to promote that. This year, every day, at least once a day somewhere, I promoted this event and it sold out and it was brilliant. And, you know, off the back of that event, we decided to sell a new product that I'm going to be all in on next year as a category 1. It's called the C-Suite. You guys, again, we'll put the sales page link in the show notes for you. You can go and check it out and see what it's all about, get the sneak preview. But at the event, we sold the C-Suite. We sold 15 spots. We limited it to 15 from the event, and we sold out all 15 within 3 weeks of the event being held. It's a premium product or premium service because you get to spend a year with me supporting you and supporting you selling to corporates. So it is a premium service. But the reaction to it has been huge. I'm actually going to be later today doing a bonus pre-Christmas call with them on the things that you need to be doing before Christmas for business development. I'm really excited about it. It's honestly, I'm so jazzed about the C-suite. But it was risky, right? Because I'd sold this event, and an event is fine to sell. Like, it's a one-off thing. If people come and they've spent 600 quid on a ticket and they learn something and they're like, okay, that's cool. But to go all in on a brand new program, something that was 12 months long, something that was going to be premium price point, that was scary. And that was our next piece, was, okay, sales. We sold the event successfully. Now we're selling the C-suite successfully. We are opening spots up now to the public. You can join. You can start in January. If you want to sell to corporates next year, you need to get in on it at the price it is now, because it's going to go up and up and up and up and up. We know that. It's not going to change. It will go up and up and up, because we are already getting the best results for the people who have joined, right? The people who came to the event, they were selling 30 grand contracts a week later, signing 30k proposals. They were signing 7,000 and 8,000 pound contracts. They were having meetings with big brands. That was from a 2-day event. From 12 months in the C-suite, those people are going to be making multiple 6 figures, selling to corporates, delivering however suits them. So don't miss out. If you are interested in selling to corporates next year, this is the early price. If you want to have a chat with me about it, book in. Let's have a chat. Let's have an honest chat about it. See if it's for you. But don't sit back and think, oh, I'll do it later, because you A, won't probably, and B, we've all seen the meme on LinkedIn and I think Facebook, the guy who's got the tattoo that's supposed to be like a unicorn or something. The person who's drawn it on his back is like, I don't know, my kind of level of drawing. It just looks like a weird, funky seal. And the meme says, you'll always find someone who can do it cheaper. Yep, you can. But I am so 100% that I'm a category 1. I feel so 100% confident that I'm category 1 in this, that I'm like, if you go somewhere else, then you've made the wrong move. And that for me is phenomenal, that feeling. So let's just look at this. We've gone through feeling underconfident at the beginning of the year with self-promotion, feeling like I needed to go through the steps. I created my BFD list. I looked at the achievements of my clients. I assessed the market. I adapted. I sold. And now I'm here and I'm like, I am the category of 1. I'm going to own that. You should buy this 100%. I have this indomitable confidence about it, because I know that this is the best thing for people and their businesses. And if they don't buy it, I'm kind of like, oh my God, it's crazy pants. It's fine, but it's crazy pants. So that for me has been the biggest learn all year, becoming the category of 1. It's not about the fact that, I took this like non-entity thing that was kind of a dirty word in the online space, selling to corporates. Oh my God, like, I don't want to do that. I want to be online. I want to have pictures in Paris and all this kind of cool stuff. And there's me like, by the way, guys, maybe sell to some companies. They've got a lot of money. I took something that was dirty word and sold an event and sold this amazing program. And it's what I am going to be all in on next year. But it's not necessarily the money. It's the confidence that comes with it. I'm the category of 1. I'm excited about it. I'm speaking at tons of events next year talking about this very topic. How to sell to corporates, how to do it successfully, how to get best business development practice. I'm accrediting the C-suite so that people actually get CPD points, so that they can contribute to a generation of better business developers. And I'm so excited about it. I'm so unbelievably excited about it, passionate about it. Can't wait to get going on it. We've got the Facebook group is up and running, and people are introducing themselves and saying how excited they are to just hit their goals and to work with some phenomenal brands. And it's amazing. And I want that for you. I want you to be the category 1, in your business. And it's not about necessarily what can I find that is new, what's a new product, what's a new service. It's about going through the steps that I've gone through. And yes, okay, I've been relatively slow about it. It's taken me 7 or 8 months. But you can do it quicker, because you know the steps. I didn't. I had no idea. I was like, right, how can I become a leader? And the question you need to ask yourself is not, how can I become a leader, but how can I become the leader? And now I really am. And next year, I really am going to be the leader for entrepreneurs who want to sell to companies, universities, public sector organizations, big brands, small brands, up and coming, growing brands. That is going to be the space that I really, really dominate next year. And I'm so excited about that. You know, I want everyone to feel that same passion, because it's not enough anymore to be a leader. You have to be the leader. Okay. Hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. I know I've got a bit overexcited at some points in it, but hopefully it has been useful to you. If it has, please do me a favor. Head over onto the iTunes or whatever podcast app you use and leave a review. It really is important. During this time of year, what happens with the iTunes charts is that everybody stops listening to podcasts, which is fair enough. You're all doing Christmas shopping and important things. I get that. But here's the other thing. When people drop out of the charts, they drop out completely, and it takes a long time to build that back up. So if you feel like over this year you've had really good value from this podcast or the Selling to Corporate podcast, please make sure that you do go and do us a solid favor and just leave a little review and say what you've enjoyed, so that other people who are new listeners to the podcast or that iTunes itself can shove us up the rankings and help us appeal to other people who really want to learn how to be the best salespeople. I will see you in Friday's episode. We've got a cool guest this week, which is very exciting. And then next Monday, I'm going to be letting you steal from my 2020 sales plan. It's all getting exciting up in here. I'll see you in the next episode.